Calling to order the Economic Development Commission on January 12th, 2022. It is now 7:06 p.m. We're live? Cool. Okay. Great. So the first thing on our agenda today are updates on the Massworks Grant Awards and the Site Readiness Grant Award and the associated economic development activities. Bob is here to give us some updates on that.
Okay, Massworks, we applied for a $4.5 million grant back in June. Subsequently, we got awarded $3 million out of that, which is in the top 5 of all the state awards. So I think we did pretty good on that. And that is to be applied towards our $8.5 million water sewer project, which is supporting the 2 big warehouses. The Site Readiness Grant is like a subdivision of the Massworks grants. We applied for a $350,000 grant for design and engineering of water sewer up Monroe Street and up Davis Street, extend that. If you remember, about 2 years ago on the town warrant, we had a $250,000 article, and it got pulled that day for design of design and engineering. So we just applied for it. There's a 10% town match in there, so that's why the 90% comes up to $314,850. And that is for just design and engineering of the water system, no construction. We'll probably be applying for the construction grant in fiscal 20, let's have June of 23. June of 2022, this year, we'll be applying, I'm sorry, what is it? Yeah, this is 2022. I can't keep track of my years. We should be applying for phase 2 to support the 2 big warehouses. We have to create a huge water loop up North Street and down through the fine sand gravel pit. That's to supply volume and pressure for these big warehouses. So 3 phases. Phase 1 you're seeing right now with the $3 million grant. Phase 2 will be this year. Phase 3 will be next year. That's basically it on the on item number 1. Any questions?
I don't have any questions. Anyone else? Can you tell us who they are then? You
Do
can't.
we have to bring something before the town meeting to get the rest of the money to do that?
For that one, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's no hurry on that. The design and engineering, once Stantec does it, it's good for 3 years.
Okay.
It will take them probably a couple of months to do it.
Yeah.
So there's no hurry to do that, and that can wait until the May meeting.
Do you think there's any possibility that these warehouses will pay some of that?
The tax revenue we get from those will probably pay 10 times that.
Yeah. But how much tax revenue are we going to get from the one that's being put up in Sutton?
And the one in Sutton, we own 12% of that one. So usually you get 1.5% of the value of the building.
Yeah.
So the value of that building is $74 million. So we're looking at about $100 million, a $1 million revenue, of which 12% is ours. So we won't see much out of that.
Right.
Our 1 million square foot warehouse,
Yeah,
we will
right.
see probably $1.5 million tax revenue on that.
The only thing I was just wondering, I mean, Sutton and Oxford, you're going to be getting more out of this, and we're paying to bring a water line.
That's under discussion right now.
Okay.
That is one of my sticking points.
Yeah, right.
Trust
right.
me.
Yeah, I think that something should be done about that.
Yeah. No, that's
Good
on
point.
my radar.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did actually have another question here, since we will be applying for another round of grants this year. I know last year we brought in a consultant. I would assume we're doing the same, this year. I know there are associated fees.
Actually, it will be another Massworks grant, There's a lot of duplication to these grants. We're going to try not doing it with a consultant this year. There's probably a good chance of that happening. And the reason I say that, right now, I am working on a federal EDA grant, which is, it's a $4.4 million grant, of which EDA federal pays 80%. So it turns out to be a $3.3 million grant. A little bigger than the Massworks we just received. And we're doing that in-house.
Okay,
Matt
great.
Benoit and I are basically doing that right now. If this is successful, then we will definitely take on the state grant. The federal grants are complicated. I mean, complicated. I've got over 100 hours into this grant right now. It is sophisticated. I wish I was doing another Massworks grant. I haven't done it. So, with that said, the answer to your question, probably not.
Okay.
I requested some money for it, and it didn't go anywhere, put it that way.
Okay.
Did you do most of the work on the grant?
On the Massworks,
The Massworks?
pretty much, April Anderson was our consultant. She did a lot of editing.
Yeah,
She knew the buzzwords to put in there.
yeah.
But as far as the content,
Yeah.
that was pretty much came out of this building. That's why we're pretty confident I can get the one done for phase 2.
Good. First one's always the hardest, right?
Yes, it is. Now I know the buzzwords.
Yeah.
Make sure every sentence has economic development in it
There you go.
and job creation. Those two phrases, it goes a long way.
Great. Okay. So we're not expecting to have to ask for any money for any of these at this point?
No, and what happened last year was April Anderson's bill was, I believe it was $9,500, which was cheap. Most of those consulting fees are $30,000, $40,000. The reason it was cheap is because I did all the legwork.
Right.
And she just edited what we did.
Mhm.
She has several towns in the state, towns and cities, and she charges them a good fee, but she does it from A, soup to nuts. She does the entire application. With us, I would just send her a section, she'd review it, a couple of rearrange of words, come back, done. As new ideas popped in, and as she goes through these things, you find out you do one section, and then you think back, well, maybe what I put in this one should be in that one also. So you're constantly going back from section to section. It's a lot of re-editing
Oh, sure.
once you get the basics down. Now, there was a fund that Hal Davis set up, I think, 3 years ago, an engineering fund.
Okay.
It was never used, obviously. And it just carried over in the town budget year after year after year. Well, we decided to tap that, but that was only $8,000. If you remember, I came before this commission last year asking for that extra $1,500, and that was the part that supplemented the $8,000 to pay off the full consulting fee. Item number 3 is a little different when we get to item number 3.
Okay. Okay. That was my only question. Should we expect to have to pay for anything through here? Because we'd have to go ask for money and do all that, so.
I'll always take it.
Yeah, right.
Don't get me wrong there.
Hey, you seem to be a good investment. We get, like 100x or more ROI, so it's,
To put in $9,500 to get $3 million back,
Yeah.
I would like to have my 401k have that return.
Yeah.
no kidding.
I think all of us would.
No kidding. Great. Any other discussion on topic 1, the Massworks and site readiness grants? Okay.
No one in the audience either.
No Zoom today. Seemed like everybody would come in, so. Okay. Topic 2 is the discussion on the 2021 Douglas Annual Report. This one's mine. So every year we have an annual report that we put out as a town. we, as the Economic Development Commission, are responsible for putting something together to put in this report to describe, what we've done for the past year. I worked with Bob putting this together. You each have a copy of it. What I would like to do, I sent it out yesterday. I know it was very last minute. I don't know if you've had a chance to review. I wouldn't be surprised if you haven't. Can't hold it against you since it was like last night.
Oh, I did read it.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Good.
Okay. I didn't realize that it was the report, so, okay.
Yeah,
sounds
because you
good.
do one for the Finance Committee as well.
I don't do it.
Yeah, right. Every commission, every board, every committee does one.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I think that looks great.
Good.
Stuff in here we haven't seen in 20 years.
I know.
Thanks to you.
Never mind 20 years.
That's true, too.
Hello.
So what I would like to do is make sure that we're kind of unified in submitting this to the town, that we all kind of agree with, what's being said. And so I would like to, if we've had a chance to read it, move that we as a council approve the proposed annual report and proceed with submitting it to the town.
I'll make a motion that we approve this for you to put into the town, what do you call it?
Yearly
Town book, town-
annual report.
Annual report of the town on behalf of the Economic Development Commission.
I'll second that.
Okay. We can vote by ayes. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
If you want to write that, a motion was made by Carol, seconded.
Yep. Great. Okay. We can move on to the next item here, item 3, a discussion on using the EDC fiscal year 2022 budget up to the full amount remaining for CMRPC consulting fees to assist in completing the EDA grant application. This one's Bob's.
Okay, let me explain the EDA grant. Actually, I should back one and give you a little synopsis of what's going on behind the scenes. In June, we submitted the Massworks grant. That was awarded in November. In early fall, we found out that there was a matching grant, federal grant to match Massworks, who would pass up $3 million, another $3 million. So I started applying for the EDA grant. Once we got into the nuts and bolts of it, probably early December, we ran into a few roadblocks. In December, we, as you know, as a country, we started developing supply chain problems, big supply chain problems. This affected every industry, including the construction industry. It affected steel, it affected concrete, it affected everything, lumber, plywood, wallboard, you name it. And a water sewer project was severely impacted. So we decided, and we, meaning Bob Sullivan, myself, Stan Tech, Mr. Wojcik, the town administrator, and Matt Benoit, we decided as a team that we were going to pre-order the pipe. Because normally you would order pipe, and we're looking at 9,300 linear feet of 12 and 16 water pipe. This stuff weighs 1,000 pounds per length. This is not lightweight copper tubing. And you're looking at many truckloads of this stuff because they max out for weight, not volume. The normal delivery on these, correct me if I'm wrong, is probably 2 months. What normal times, you could go to US Steel in Burlington, New Jersey, and say, we want 9,300 feet of pipe. 2 months later, it's on your doorstep. It is now up to 22 weeks, which is 3 times the length. It's just killing construction projects across the nation. So we decided that we would pre-order the pipe. So instead of putting the stuff out for bid and having that clock started in February, for a June or a July installation, we need to be installing by April 1st.
That's good.
So the decision was made, let's pre-order the pipe. But we start that process, and then EDA says, well, you can't pre-order the pipe. You just can't do it under federal procurement laws. So now we had to split the project. And we were limited to $3 million. Remember, the entire project is 8.5. So what we did is we pulled the sewer portion out, and then we added the Northeast Main Street water section of it, because the Northeast Main Street water, 2,800 linear feet, that was not critical. North Street, Gilboa, and Lackey Dam to supply the warehouses with the direct line is critical, time critical. Northeast Main Street just created the pressure loop. That could wait, because the warehouses weren't coming online until November anyways. So we could take a hit. So we decided the sewer pipe is readily available. You can buy it right now off the street. The vendors have it. It's the water pipe that's critical. But we could not order the water, we could not do a water contract with federal because we could not pre-order the pipe. So not pre-ordering the pipe was not an option. We had to do it. So therefore, EDA grants were not applicable towards
Just toward the water.
towards the water.
Mhm.
So
Right.
now we decided, let's do a sewer project with just a little piece of water, non-critical piece, and that's what we end up with today. When we did that, we had to split the contracts. Back in June, we were putting out one bid for $8.5 million of water sewer, furnished and installed. Real easy. Now we're down to contract one, which is water pipe only. Contract two will be coming out in February, which is install that water pipe only. Contract three is the EDA federal grant of the sewer. So now we went from 1 to 3, which just tripled our budget for bidding. It's about $10,000 to put this thing out, prepare a bid document, go to bid, get the bid results, and award a contract. So now triple that. So our expenses just went up. The other thing was we had to get ahead of the pipe increases. We got word in late December, like between Christmas and New Year's, that there was going to be a sizable pipe increase January 15th. More reason to get this thing out to bid.
And you're saying the actual material, the pipes themselves, are going to be more expensive during that time,
Up to
correct?
40% more expensive, so
That's significant, yep.
to put it out to bid for 2 weeks early and say and prevent a 40% increase in price was huge. We're looking at $700,000 a pipe. Double that just takes a chunk into your budget.
Sure.
So the decision is made to go out to bid. The bids are actually due this Friday. We'll be opening bids on the pipe. I'm curious to see how they come out. With the EDA grant application, as I said before, it's a sophisticated grant. It has sections in there, FEMA maps, stuff that Stantec has access to, but was not planning on it. It also accesses census data. The location of the warehouse is in Douglas. The region that it supports is southern Worcester County, northeast Connecticut, and northwest Rhode Island. Those are the regions it supports. We don't have that census data, but CMRPC does.
Yeah.
So we had to tap into CMRPC Resources, and we worked with them this week. Got a lot of data from them, completed a lot of this application. But we don't have any contracts with them or any agreements, so they are basically the April Anderson of the consultants right now.
Okay.
I did approach April to help us out with this EDA grant. She's obviously working on a few others, and they are complicated. She could not take on Douglas and give us the time we needed, the attention. So we went to CMRPC a couple of weeks ago, we had a meeting, and they said they would help us, because they have the data at their fingertips, it's right there in their computer system, and it just makes sense, because April will have to go to them for the same data, so we're going direct to the source. With that said, we
So
don't
this data, I'm just curious, I've done some work with census data in the past. You can't just go to census.gov and get the data that you need?
It's not the data you're thinking of, it's the people in this building don't know what the data is. It's the federal, it's a complicated grant.
So what you're saying, it's not necessarily just the data, it's the expertise that goes along with it as well?
Going into Google this, Google that, it'll take you forever if you can even get access to it.
So, yeah, so it sounds like it's expertise as well, knowing what data to
And-
pull and so on.
And they actually recommend that you work with your regional planning authority, which in our case is CMRPC, to get this data. It's right in there in the EDA grant application that you should work with your local region planning authority, because they have that information.
Should it help us on a federal grant, the fact that we're pulling out of 2 other states as well?
As far as a region
Yeah.
for labor, yes.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that one of the warehouses is still 3 towns. We still have that attraction for multi-town.
Yeah,
Blackstone Valley Logistics is still Sutton, Uxbridge, and Douglas.
yeah.
So we have been told that our EDA application, the way it's going to be written, is very attractive to the people in Washington. The creation of 800 new jobs. If you notice, it says 147 million in private investment. As I found out, if any of you attended the Karen Polito presentation,
Yeah, right.
do you remember what Scannell had up on the board for
Yeah.
the value of the building? It
Right.
was 74 million.
Yeah,
Somehow those numbers a year ago got transposed.
Really?
So we always thought it was a $47 million project, and it runs about $1,000 per square foot. So, I mean, $100 a square foot. So if you take a 1 million square foot building, the value of that building is probably $100 million. You take a 650,000 square foot building in 3 towns, the value should be about 65,000.
Sure.
So when they told me originally 47, I questioned that, but I was told, no, it's 47, so I just accepted it. Turns out it was 65 plus another 10, another 74.
Okay, so, this is a little off topic. Should I change that number?
No.
Okay.
It's been carried, that 47 has been carried through, I'm just making a mental correction
Sure.
now.
we've got 147 on this, not 47.
It should be 174.
No, it says
It's back.
147.
Yeah, I know, but we'll just, because it's still valued in all the
Okay.
environmental notification forms, the impact forms with NEPA,
Yeah.
it's been carried through, so
Okay.
there's no sense for us to change it because it's already been accepted by the state, including our Massworks grant.
Yeah.
So what has happened is we do not have a funding option for CMRPC, and that we're already doing some of the work. We do have hours with them, but it's planning board hours, not our EDC hours. And that was the original budget when Carol and I went for the $5,000, about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
The Board of Selectmen knew we were active at that point, and they gave us a $5,000 budget. It was cut to 32 this last time, because every department took a hit this year. So ours subsequently was hit as well, and we've had a few expenses in there since. So I think there's $2,800 remaining. Last time I checked, $2,486.
And when you say our budget, you mean the EDC
The
budget?
EDC budget, what's
Okay.
remaining of that original 3,200 or 3,800, I can't tell you what we started
Okay.
off with.
And-
Why did we vote?
Right, July 1, we get a new budget. So, I mean, we're only 5 months that we have to carry this through. And we might use all of it, some of it. We don't know how much time CMRPC is going to spend on this EDA grant. If we need more, we will have a special town meeting here pretty soon. That will be discussed next Tuesday with the selectmen. We have to have a special town meeting. There's a lot of land issues with our warehouse.
Okay. So from a support perspective, I support using some of our funds. My only concerns would be what outstanding commitments do we already have up until July 1 when we get our new budget. I don't want to not be able to pay somebody because we've allocated the majority or the remainder.
I mean, if you look at the importance of anything before us, there's nothing in second place.
I totally agree. However, if we've made commitments to pay for something.
There are no other commitments, and as far as expenses, they're just going to have to wait.
There really aren't many expenses that usually come with our department.
Okay.
And,
It would be postage, advertising was some of the things I can think we used in the past. And I
Right.
can't think of anything that you guys would be proposing right now for advertising.
No, I don't want to, we get such a big return on investment in what you're doing. That's certainly priority one. I just don't know if we've made commitments. This is like my second meeting as chair or first official.
There are no commitments that, we have something coming up in May.
Okay.
There's nothing. I can't think of it.
we rarely spent our budget, okay? We would have a budget, it would be there if we needed it.
Yep.
But we rarely spend it. You've heard the expression free cash.
Yep.
You hear it talk about free, you know what free cash is? Free cash is at the end of the year, if you don't use your budget, you turn it back into the town.
Yep.
And any of the departments, they'll ask for a certain amount of money, and I will say, the departments are very good. Instead of trying to spend it all, they will turn it back in. Everybody tries to run a pretty lean budget, and whatever's left over goes back in, and that's what free cash is. So we get a budget, but over the years, I think there were years we probably didn't spend a penny.
Okay.
Well, last year, we turned back over $3,000, I
Right,
believe, EDC as of June. And remember, we had that discussion.
Yeah, we have it there in case something happens.
Something like this.
Yeah, something like this, exactly. So I think I wouldn't be concerned about it.
Okay.
But I can understand you would think maybe we owe somebody some bills here, we got to pay them, but no, we don't.
Yeah, or there's some recurring subscription that, like, I know we're doing Land Glide or something like that. I don't know if that's a
And that won't be
yearly.
back till next year.
I'm sorry?
That wouldn't come until next year's fiscal year anyways.
Okay. No, I don't know the interval that it
And I
operates on
can,
or.
trust, if it comes up in May, I can go 2 months without it.
Yep. Okay. Anything else that you can think of that it comes out of this, our budget that we would be responsible for and SOL?
The only thing I would have would be expense for mileage. I did have a mileage expense.
Yep.
We initially went for eminent domain process.
Yep.
I had to meet with attorneys in Danvers. That was a mileage expense. If we have zero in account, I just won't submit a mileage expense, period. I'll just need it.
So how much do you think you need at this point?
That's a good question. I don't have the answer for that.
Okay.
I don't know what they charge, but we just had to get it done.
Yep. Okay.
Obviously, we can't give them any more than what we have, so.
Right.
Right.
So that's it. So we know
But
what
then-
we have, and we could give them that.
But by the time the special town meeting comes up, we should have that number. If there's a balance of
Right.
what we need, we
Right.
can put that in as an
Yeah.
article.
Exactly.
And that'll come out of free cash, but it'll be a small amount.
Right.
Maybe a couple of $1,000s. And CMRPC might find out this $2,800 is more than enough. We might not use all of it. And that's why I worded it up to the full amount. From zero, well, we know it won't be zero, it'll be at least $1,
Yep.
to 2,800, somewhere in between.
Yep. Okay. I mean, I have no problem supporting that. I'd want to know what the amount was, to do my diligence, and then approve, we can all approve the amount unless Carolee feels though, you've been around forever. How do we typically, approach this?
Well, basically, how we approach this is what we authorize.
Okay.
And then when they bring the bill in, then it will be paid out of our budget.
Okay.
We can't officially sign for a change order until we know there's funds available.
Okay.
There are funds available, but I can't touch them because I'm not on the commission.
Sure.
But if you authorize economic development to pay for, specifically for CMRPC consulting fees,
Yep.
then
Okay.
when that bill comes in, you will find 3 signatures required on an invoice and we're covered, because you've already voted to spend it.
Right. Right.
Correct.
Make up a check, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can't see something that would be better to spend our money on at this point. So I'm okay with it. I don't think I need to hear really anything else. Anyone else have other comments, questions?
And I think it's a good deal because we spent $9,500 for Massworks. We're only going to spend maybe $3,000 for consulting fees on this one because we're keeping it in-house.
Right.
But
And-
it's the questions that we just can't answer.
And this is for consulting and data and the whole
Yeah.
nine, it sounds like.
Yeah, everything, just put it in the consulting bucket.
Yep.
But it's data that we don't have access to.
Okay.
How much did you say you have left?
I want to say 20, I can confirm that, Gene, but 2486, 2,500.
Okay, I guess what I'll make a motion that we, let's see, how would I put that? Authorize the use of our remaining funds, 2,800.
2480.
2480 or more if such is available,
Up to the maximum.
up to the maximum
available.
that is available in our account for CMRP consulting fees to assist in completing the EDA grant
Application.
application.
Seconded?
And seconded?
We can vote by ayes. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
The motion passes. All in favor.
Thank you.
Okay. Great. Okay, so that was the big one.
Are there any
Here,
questions on that one? As far as, if you want to stay on the EDA grant?
so in terms of the EDA grant, I would like to note it down. I can probably watch the video afterward. How much are we looking to get from the EDA grant?
3.3 million.
3.3, okay. Great.
You want the exact number?
It's close enough, I think.
I have it down to the dollar.
If you have it in front of you, I will not take you up on that.
3,313,251.
Great, okay. Good. So we're growing our, the amount of people that we can use for consulting, and creating a bigger network as well, so that's great. Okay. Other questions on this grant application? Do we know, what is the interval at which these EDA grants can be submitted? Is it every month?
It's a rolling, this cycle is due by June 2022, but they're done on a rolling basis.
Okay,
So if we get this application in third week of January, we should have a notice to proceed probably end of March, which means now we can go out for bid. The money won't be available to probably mid-April.
Okay.
It's, the federal process is a lot different than the state process.
So if it's rolling, it's due, June is the latest, but they process it basically as soon as it comes in?
Right,
It
and then
sounds like.
there'll be
Okay.
another cycle.
Okay.
These are the opera funds that came out of the Washington last year.
Oh, these are those.
These are all opera funds.
Okay, great. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm glad that we're taking advantage of that.
And not to be confused with the town opera funds. The federal kept money for federal, gave a lot of money to the states. The state now filtered through Douglas, and we have about $2.9 million of opera funds,
Great.
of which we used as some of the match money on this. The match on this one, remember I said the total project of the water sewer, or the sewer water EDA was 4.1 million.
Mm-hmm.
EDA pays 80%, which came up to that 3,313,000. The town has to come up with a 20% match of 828,000. That's coming directly out of the $3 million Massworks grant. So it's going to cost us zero
Good.
match.
The grant isn't written so that you have to pay for materials, labor, blah, blah, blah.
That's a budget we submit.
Okay.
And they will hold us to it.
Good.
Both Massworks and EDA. Now, the EDA grant, the federal grant, is for construction only. No design, no engineering. The Massworks grant is a little more lenient. You could actually pre-order pipe with the Massworks grant. Federal procurement laws, you could not. Very restrictive. Not only is it a cumbersome grant, it's restrictive, very restrictive in nature. Those are all the roadblocks that we've been coming across the last 2 months.
Yep.
Now we have a path going forward, and we need to get it done.
Yeah, that's what I expected, that it's very rigid in what you can spend the money on. So, good.
Massworks is a little more lenient. For instance, we can use 828,000 of that 3 million to match a federal grant.
That's what I was getting at. So, good.
Very, very lenient.
Yep.
Now, we
Okay.
did run it by the consultants, so we're not taking a chance here that they do accept it. We've all got this already approved up front.
Okay, good.
We had a meeting with the Massworks officials. What can we spend this on?
Okay. Good. So, we had that roadblock of supply chain issues and all that stuff, and we found a way around it.
Prices, yeah, we're trying to address it. If something comes up, we're trying to address it.
Good. Okay. I had no other questions or comments on the EDA grants. Does anyone else?
Karen?
No.
Okay. Next topic is approval of minutes. So you all should have the minutes from the last meeting, which was November 10th, 2021. If you haven't had a chance to read them, I would ask that you read them, and if anybody feels so inclined to make a motion to approve them.
I don't think I was here at that meeting.
No, I don't think you were.
I don't think I can approve the minutes because I wasn't at the meeting.
That presents a problem.
Because nobody was at the meeting?
No, a quorum vote.
Oh,
Because if you don't vote, we don't have a quorum.
you know what, we can do it at our next meeting. I mean, we take sometimes 6 months to do minutes, so.
That's fine.
And we can do that, what I'll do is I'll try to look it up on the TV and then I can vote on it.
Oh, that's true, too.
Yeah.
You review it by keywords. It
Okay.
was actually a very benign meeting. It was just reappointing, the reorganization.
Yeah.
Nothing. Is there anything discussed?
No, it was the reorg, that's it.
Yeah,
And
reorg.
I think
And
you,
then I gave a review of economic development updates.
yep.
So it was a very benign meeting.
It was, but I appreciate, Carol, your integrity of wanting to review it. So I agree. I think we can move on. Anyone have any other topics?
Minutes.
What's that?
Does anybody have any other topics that we want to discuss that were not on the agenda? Okay. We can move to adjourn if anybody wants to move.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Okay. We can vote by ayes. Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
That's always an easy eye.
Yeah. We gotta find out.